it. They freaking nailed it. I never gave Key and Peele too much credit, but they nailed it.
Yeah, so when I first saw this skit, I was like, this isn't that much of an exaggeration, but now it's even sounding like less of an exaggeration than before.
Wow. Well, hello. Welcome to Media Studies. I'm James Brown. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Twitch, and we're live on YouTube. I'm James Brown, media obsessive. He's Saby Reyes Kulkarni, an apostate music journalist. How do you want to start, Saby?
Well, I can already tell I'm much more thrilled to be talking about this than you are. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to stay tight-lipped until we hear from. I mean, we're discussing Andre 3000's new quote-unquote album, 7 piano sketches, and I just got to say, James was not thrilled. James hated, I don't think it's too strong a word, Andre's last album, his bass flute album, New Blue Sun, which I loved, was one of my favorite albums. I think it was late 2023 is when it was out. I thought it was beautiful, profound, soulful. And every time I say those words, I see James's face. The first time we talked about this, like, what are you talking about? But I'm going to defer my thoughts on the new one because I'm dying to hear. I got a text this week from James. You're the first person that I heard about this album from. I got in your text when you said, this makes me hate this guy even more. That's how I heard about this record.
Is that what I said?
I think
know.
so.
Let me pull that text up. I'm not sure I said that. I said something to the effect of let me go back here, because we talked about I'm starting to hate him.
Okay.
That's what I said. That's what I said. And look, for those who are new to this kind of conversation between me and Saby, we have talked about the influence of Andre 3000 on my life. I am a blurred black nerdy kid from the projects, and sometime in the mid 90s, I hear this weird, eccentric, fun, virtuoso group called Outkast, and a slew of people from Atlanta who spoke to me, project kid from a Rust Belt city. And he and Big Boy created something that was just magnificent in engaging. And when I listen to something like Elevators today, I'm just transported, It's the perfect driving song, and the fact that they were both, yes, wearing a hip hop sheen, but at the same time they were this other shade of blackness. And they were not afraid, and they still aren't afraid to this day. Obviously, we got Mr. Dude with a freaking, he's not afraid to be himself, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that he would actually show up with a freaking, piano on his back at the Met Gala. I appreciate that he does not have to fake toughness. I appreciate that he can be his own remix of what it means to be a black man in America and not care about all that stuff, because I don't care about all that stuff. I dress like a golfer. Right? I don't care. Because
it's a good look for you.
Thank you. I even got the golf shirt going now.
Yeah.
I like they mastered clothing.
And you don't even golf, right?
I'm learning.
Okay.
Learning. But They mastered clothing. And I was like, I'm going to appreciate it. I'm going to lean into that. So I loved seeing I saw the trajectory, from when they bleed through and became stars, and then they became mega stars. And I think when they became mega stars, it drove Andre 3000 insane. I think that was pretty clear. I think he said it. I don't know if you heard that Rick Rubin interview.
Some of it. Yeah.
And I think it spoke to, like, he's got anxiety and depression and all sorts of things that are driving him bonkers when it comes to music as he used to do it.
And a kind of writer's block, or definitely some kind of block.
Very much so.
If anybody is familiar with, like, Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, like that self course for creatives, which I really recommend highly. She talks about that blocks in creative people. That's what I took away from that interview with Rick Rubin.
And I think he's kind of lost, at least in terms of hip hop and his place in it. I think he also said something really interesting in one of the Blue Sun interviews with, I forget which outlet he talked to. Maybe it was GQ, where he talked about sort of like, I'm 50, whatever, and I don't want to, my back hurts. I don't want to rap about that. What I'm going to rap about. And I think he's missed a massive opportunity here, where it's like, rap about anxiety, rap about depression, rap about freaking ejections in your knees, or your back hurt, or the Bengay, or whatever. Dude, like, just explore that in a medium where you're a freaking genius. It's honestly, it's like somebody, like the equivalent of someone, let's say, Martin Scorsese. And yes, I do think he's that level of a hip hop musician. Deciding that I'm going to make TikTok videos.
Or just do a cooking show or something like that, right? Like a cooking reality show, not even like a cinematic cooking.
I'm not going to even, like, try to lift I'm not going to try to live up to this great talent that I have been bestowed. And I generally, your friend and mine shared a message with us both that I should be open to his creative journey and just flow with it. And usually I am open to that. But this seems like this goes beyond, like, Metal Machine music. This goes this goes beyond, like, oh man, I'm trying to think of another great analog. He needs a back to basics period, man. And do it from the perspective of an aging rapper. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I'll build on that one more level.
No.
As rapping is considered a young man's game. There hasn't really been this sort of Rolling Stones, even Paul McCartney, Led Zeppelin,
Pink Floyd, The Who,
even legacy. Late stage, when you, like, look at
Springsteen, Tom Petty.
Who am I leaving out that jumps out that's running through my head? Pink Floyd, like where you see them age. Bob Dylan, hell, like you don't really see those guys into their 50s, 60s, 70s, partly because the medium is younger.
Right, you don't see them doing new stuff. You see them rolling out the
they do the club circuit.
Right, or like just doing the nostalgia thing, doing live shows, but it's not for something vital. And what you're saying is that Andre was perfectly positioned to recast hip hop as a mature, a vehicle for mature expression.
And I think there's a few artists who've started going down that path. Did you ever hear 333?
No.
It's Jay-Z's album. I believe it's his last studio album, where he's talking about his mom coming out of the closet. He's talking about his relationships falling apart and figure out to keep his family together despite his infidelity. You know, it's grown up rap music.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a guy named Open Mike Eagle who I think
Yes, great.
is a good example of this also. Yeah, I mean, look, I came on here ready to defend him, and I can't this time.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa!
I think
I wasn't
this.
expecting that.
Yeah, so again, I will reiterate. I think New Blue Sun is a beautiful, awesome piece of work. I think, and I think I said this last time. Part of the issue here is he does do guest features on other people's stuff, so it's not like he lost his. I mean, maybe he's lost his fastball or in his mind, but he can still pitch, right? So it's like, what are you doing just in the bullpen? You should be starting. You should be like a marquee. You should be like the focus or one of the focal players in the game, right? I this is this is a strange artistic death because it's self-imposed. It's like is doing it to himself. It's not even like he's lost his gift entirely. And I'm going to get to the new record in a second. So one of the things I said to you last time was I don't think New Blue Sun would have been as people would have gotten their underwear in a bunch as much about it if he had done that alongside continuing to do hip hop and said, "Oh, I'm still doing hip hop, but this is my other shit, and I'm proud of this too." There's this strange like I can't do hip hop anymore. Even this thing that we're looking at, this is warning, no bars. It's like, okay, dude, we get it. Like at this point, it's almost like he's taunting people. And I don't think that's what he means to do, but it's like, I am so conscious that you are conscious that you want me to do hip hop. I'm going to put a warning on my new album. That, that's going too far. So it's a weird thing because he's the one with the hang up about hip hop, not us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All you got to do is do it. All you got to do is show up and do it, and he would have instant legitimacy. Nobody would complain about this guy rapping about anxiety and things like that. There are other people doing that, right? So that's one thing. I think this new release, and it's not even an album, it's like 20 minutes long. It's basically like a tape recorder on a piano with a couple of different like post-production touches, edited in like voice introductions, which I think are really grating. I think this is what everybody was complaining about last time. It's indulgent, it's haphazard, it's underdeveloped. There is a charm to doing things spontaneously and off the cuff. There's many examples of great songs that were just like right then and there, or there's lo-fi stuff. There's a bunch of Joni Mitchell early recordings of her just playing into a tape recorder, and I got to tell you, that stuff is sublime. It's amazing. Jeff Buckley is another one who did sketches, right? Sometimes this is really great, but then sometimes it's just fucking careless. And I think this stuff, there are a couple of moments that I think approach beauty, but for the most part, it's just like into a microphone, and that is like, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Metallica tried to be like, let's get back to rawness, and they put out Saint Anger, and the snare drum sounds like a trash can, and they thought so hard about, we've got to sound spontaneous, and they were even inept at doing that. At that point, they had lost so much inspiration, they couldn't even do that very well, right? And I think one of their greatest releases was recorded in like 3 days. It's an EP that they just like banged out. That is amazing. But that's when they had their thing still. This seems like it's trying to be loose, and he's playing these jazz chords that are very obviously supposed to hearken to like Thelonious Monk and Dave Brubeck and Vince Guaraldi. And it's like, dude, at this point, you're kind of being disrespectful now to this stuff. It's the musical equivalent of like a kid finger painting, is what this reminded me of. And I don't think it has the childlike charm. It's an adult who is like refusing to be grounded in his adultness and acting like a child. That can be, when Bjork does it, it's I think there's a depth there. When he's doing it now, it's just like, dude, you're just avoiding. Okay, there's a song title here. Check this out. There's a song title. I took a lot of notes here. Where is this song title? Oh my god, where? Oh man, what is it called? It's like When You're an Ant. Oh,
Yeah.
come on.
That one.
Yeah, when you're an ant and you wake up in an awesome mood, about to drive your son to school, only to discover that you left the lights on in the car last night, so your battery is drained. That's the title, and he has that female, I don't know who it is, introducing, and then he says it in like a high pitched, squeaky alien voice. It's like, okay, look, we're watching footage of children with their limbs blown off, being immolated to death, and this is what you're offering us?
Come on, man.
Okay. Well, then let me back away from that then. Okay, you yourself are talking about anxiety and
Yeah.
adult themes, and that's what you offer us instead.
I think that's a more rational response.
But it's just like very, very, very indulgent and hollow. Like, this is what you spend your day thinking about. Like, yes, I'm a parent. Like, this is a sort of that what he's talking about is a universal experience, but he's not approaching it with any care or even intention. And there's a part on the record where you can hear the piano bench creaking underneath him, and then you hear him hit stop. Lots of people have done that on recordings before. For some reason, with him, it just felt tossed off. This is the definition of tossed off, and there's nobody in his camp, obviously, who will tell him, dude, work on this more. Polish this up into something. There's something here, but you just don't like present us with wet clay dripping down your hand. Like, fucking bake it a little bit, So that's where
I,
I'm
wa-
at on this.
I, I was stunned that you went in this direction. I expected you to love this. This also ties into the title of this. All my favorite rappers are crazy. Because your note about being incomplete is a chronic problem with my other favorite rapper, Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
And also you have another guy who went through a crazy amount of fame. And is going through severe mental health stuff. And just, flat nuttiness. But it's a combination of the two though. And I think there is a thing about rap in particular where it is so deceptively simple that I think that there's this proclivity among artists to think they're done when they're not really done.
Yeah, why are they deciding? It's like, it's so weird. Or why is Andre deciding? Nobody said that to him. Nobody issued this edict that he was passe. Or
Yeah.
if he had put out a hip hop album, like, it would have been a stop the presses moment, at least for people who follow.
No.
So
I think it would have been an event. It would have been an event.
So what the fuck is he talking about? Like it's he doesn't feel up for it anymore.
Yes.
I think there's a fear that he can't measure up. I think that's a lot of what's going on, and it's couched in this bigger ball of wax of anxiety. But hip hop is a young person's hands. Like, well, you could have made it something else. You're that big of a figure in the art. You could have dragged it along into middle age very nicely. At least he could have tried. So like that's what's so striking about this. It's not like he made an album And everybody said, "Oh, it's passe," and it didn't do anything, and it came off as stilted, and it's, "Oh, he sounds old and outdated." He's preconceiving that he's done, that he's not relevant.
Agreed.
I
I,
don't think I've ever heard of anybody doing that before, honestly.
uh,
I've heard of
interesting.
people retreating from the limelight. I've never heard of somebody saying, "Well, I got nothing to do. The art form has passed me by."
But I think that might be why they're retreating from the limelight, isn't it? Usually.
I think they do it because they're scared of topping them, not being able to top themselves. I don't think I've ever, maybe there have been. I just am not familiar with anybody else saying, "Hey, what have I got to say anymore?" kind of thing.
Hmm.
This art form that I am such a big part of, it's the things I have to say now are inappropriate for that stuff. I mean, look, there's tons of heavy metal bands. There's people playing heavy metal who are in their fucking 60s now, or even older than that. And that was supposed to be a youth, movement that you never thought these people would still be doing it physically this long, right? Much less having like the teen angst to keep going with all that fury and anger. And so I don't know. I just think this is very bizarre. And if he had made the piano equivalent of New Blue Sun, I would have been psyched. But I also think even with that, he still didn't need to stop rhyming.
Yeah, he could have done both. Especially with how thrown away these sound.
And it's like, what is your day filled with? Like when I listen to this, so when I listen to New Blue Sun, I feel this really, like I said, soulful, and I don't just mean like soul music, soulful. There's something, there's a vibration in that music that really feels powerful to me from the soul, from something of this person's humanity, right? That is just so sublime. Here, I feel like dude is wandering about his day, rattling around in his own thoughts aimlessly. is what I think his life, like, if this is, when I hear this, I picture someone just drifting around in their life without a purpose. That's so that I feel like he needs to be grounded in more ways than one, not just musically or artistically or in terms of his hip hop gift. Just dude, find something to do. It would be my advice
Agreed.
to him. Go
Agreed.
do something that puts you back in life. Put your hand in the fucking dirt somewhere, and and get yourself experience by watering the soil of your feelings. Be in touch with real people somehow. Get out of your own head, and then you'll have something more to pour into your music.
So Andre 3000 needs to go and touch grass.
Yeah, and shovel some dirt on other people's behalf. Do something with people. They don't have to know you're famous. Go find some place where nobody knows who you are. You know.
Oh, and by the way, a shout out to everybody who's with us live. It's we have a pretty good turnout so far. So
Nice.
awesome. So more on Andre, or we want to go into another direction.
Well, I want to underscore something you said, which I hadn't thought about, even though you've talked about it a lot over the years, which makes this so tragic. And I used that word last time too about Shannon Sharp, but I do think Andre and Kanye kind of pulling themselves out of the race prematurely for different reasons really hurts hip hop, because I don't want to even narrow it down to the blurred thing, the black nerd thing. I would say these guys they are that, or can appeal to that, but they're also more than that, right? Just the withdrawal of all the texture they could put into what a rapper can be, what a hip hop artist can be, is a real loss for music and for the evolution of the genre.
Yeah, and it's also something that you. I was thinking as you talked about it, a loss for the genre, and how we wouldn't see this in country. Whether it was George Strait or you see Garth Brooks now, um, you see Kenny Chesney going into sort of his emeritus phase. Going on back to Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson. They kept going. They kept producing. They stayed
Johnny
true to their
Cash.
genre. Johnny Cash is another great one. Even when they went through periods where Johnny Cash is a great example where they went through an outcast period for a very not the band
You're
or
right, right, right.
group, but he was not in favor for a very long time. But he stayed true to the thing that he was great at and created album after album. He did tweak it, but he didn't abandon the thing that gave him everything.
Or that just drove him to exist. I mean,
Sure.
like it's not just gay. It's like for creative people, this is we have a compulsion to do. We're gonna do it regardless. And this is, if anybody picks up Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, this is the quintessential blocked artist. And I think he hit a home run inadvertently. Now it's seeming like I gave him a lot of credit for his artistry on New Blue Sun. I think now I'm starting to think that was an accident. But this isn't going to do, man. Like, just you have to take this shit more seriously. And you can clearly, warning, no bars. It's like he's got this weird ambivalence towards not just the thing that gave him everything, but the thing that was motivating him before. It's almost like an identity crisis. Like I'm not that person anymore, and I that thing sort of became the thing that defined me. So now I have to push against it. And look, there's a lot of artists that do that in a not so extreme way. There's artists that like have really touchy relationships with their hit songs, and they get
Van
real.
Morrison.
Yeah, this is tons of that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember hearing Outkast for the first time. Now, I had not been exposed like most people outside of Atlanta or the South. They like the way they're phrasing.
Mhm.
This was on the first, or this was on Atlians,
Oh yeah, it's the aliens.
and it's like holy shit! Like the rhythm of this is so bizarre and and funny and like it's just like twisting my brain up in this weird way, but it flows, and it's obviously hip hop. But man, like their approach to um to meter like of their bars was so distinct. Now, maybe there were people around them who had a similar. Maybe they were steeped in something, right? But to me, I had not been exposed to anything like that, and I was like, "Whoa, this is new and fresh." And then they got really, really big. I knew there were signs of trouble when they did the Speaker Box Love Below and did each of those records mostly on their own. That to
Mhm.
me was the harbinger of bad things to come. And then it's like, oh, there's lots of offers to do shows, but he has stage fright and anxiety, or not stage fright, but like anxiety around playing. And I did the reunion show, and I felt nothing. You know, it's like this is James. Outcast is not coming back. I don't know if you even have any illusions of it at this point, but that is dead in the water beyond. They're not doing anything new at this point. It's been too long, and with this guy where he fucking is, there's no way they could reignite that spark. Even if they did a tour, it wouldn't yield new material. This guy's gone. like like he had like Andre has left the building in terms of creativity.
I and maybe I'm just being hopelessly optimistic, but I part of me feels that at some point down the line there'll be the reunion at minimum tour. and we will see them do it again. Will there be an album? I think you're probably right.
Hell no. You heard it here first. Hell will freeze over, and the Eagles will reunite, will come back from the dead and reunite a second time before that happens.
Wow. That's definitive.
This dude is gone, man.
I don't I would I think I think that are you open to like, okay, so they're up for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, which is a whole other discussion. Do you think they'll at least play that night?
Probably. I could see them doing a tour. What I mean is they won't.
Oh, no, nothing new.
They're not going to do. They might do a track.
Okay.
You cannot get this dude. Again, the Key and Peele skit is looking more and more and more like before. It was like this much exaggerated. Now it's looking more and more like the actual truth. He will not be corralled into focusing on doing like an album for long enough and then actually executing it. He won't. I've seen this person, but I've met this person before in many different guises. When someone is in that mode, that kind of artist, they're gone.
Where is he? I believe he's 50. Where is he at age 70?
Hopefully having found something else besides just creativity. If he can do what I'm prescribing for him, which is to get into something that serves life and serves other people and put his shoulder behind the wheel and get his hands dirty in some way, that could reawaken something or realign something, heal whatever's out of joint there, right? I mean, he almost needs to see a creative therapist, but he doesn't need to be in his own head more. That's the problem. He's in his own head too much. And you mentioned something else too. You said he got really huge and then went crazy.
He was probably crazy first.
I was gonna say, in Kanye's case, I don't know about him, but in Kanye's case, I think he was definitely crazy to begin with. And in Andre's case, I get the sense if you and I could go back in time right now and meet these guys before they got famous, we might be able to look at him and be like, yep, he's not going to stay on the track. Once the acclaim starts, once the pressure starts, he's going to jump ship. So there was probably something there that was, I mean, clearly he is in a good way, he was pretentious, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was pretentious in a good he was like flamboyantly pretentious, but fun pretentious.
Sure.
And then, well, that got, and the part of the skit that's actually, I think, the most accurate is, oh, let's do an album. I got an idea for an album. Let's do an album of just like squeaky sounds and one spoken word. Because I've met musicians like that. Like, no, fuck it. Let's just throw everything out the window that is expected of us and do this whole other weird thing. Like they squirm with consistency. They're like commitment phobes with staying true to their muse. And there's like they're dancing sort of to try to stay a step ahead of their muse and sidestep their muse, almost like a bullfighter with their own creativity. And dude, I've seen that a lot, and it's really frustrating. And I can spot it from fucking 500 yards away, and I don't want it in any situation that I'm involved. I mean, if maybe for a few minutes it's cool, but to pin your hopes on someone who's doing that with their own creation is, dude, you might as well punch a hole in a boat and fucking take it out to the middle of the Pacific.
Have you seen Jesus
No,
or Genius?
no, you've recommended it before, and I don't have the stomach to roll my sleeves up and do it.
Because if you, I, it speaks to everything that you described there. In that it's sort of, it is the case of where you see the early Kanye, going back as far as the mid '90s.
Mhm.
It is do you know much about it?
No.
Okay, so one of the early, I forget his name, but one of the early directors of Kanye's videos was a guy that he met in Chicago when he was a teenager. So he was running around with a video camera. So he's got a bunch of footage from the mid '90s. And then after Kanye kind of popped as a producer, and he was making beats for, Jay-Z and such, and it's getting acclaim there, but was still kind of broke.
Right, Jay-Z didn't Jay-Z like sort of suppress his, sort of keep him at arm's length for a while? And
Depending on whose story you believe, yes.
right. He was like chomping at the bit and was being sort of held in the pen.
Yeah, Dame Dash didn't want to hire him either. He didn't think that he was a rapper. He thought he was a producer and producer only. And eventually, when they thought they were going to lose him as a producer, they agreed that they were going to allow him to make a record.
Mm-hmm.
They heard Jesus Walks, and this is on video, where he's being followed into Rockefeller with Jesus Walks, and the
They're like, nope.
A&R were like, what the hell is this? Like, why
Yeah, this ain't it. Yeah. That's not exactly what they said, but that's
yeah. But basically, and he, it follows him sort of how, where you look at a guy and he was kind of off. He was crazy talented. He knew it. He wasn't afraid to say it. But yeah, you definitely see this. I identified with him well more, and I'm not saying I'm that kind of genius, but like, I felt like, oh yeah, I get why I was so attracted to this figure, because this guy is kind of like me, only a much better music producer. I'm not a music producer at all, but and I think it really tracks with everything you described. And I think if you're probably right. If footage like that exists from the the dungeon in Atlanta, which might exist, I think we'd probably see that with Big Boy and Andre.
Yeah, man, I would love to know what Big Boy's private thoughts, like unfiltered, like what he thinks to himself about this stuff, and how he feels. Sorry, but also how he feels about their career.
Sure,
the plug being pulled way too soon.
He's talked about it a little. He's always been protective and not pulled the rug out from under his guy.
But I want to hear the private.
Sure.
What he says, what he feels when he wakes up in the morning. I mean, think about that though, man. It's like you built a fucking Maserati with this dude.
Mm-hmm.
And now he takes the tires off and you can't drive it anywhere.
Sure. and he's got a career and he sells a lot. By the way, he's got his own air fryer coming out.
Good for him.
I'm not joking.
No, good for me neither. But I mean, but if you climb that mountain, if you climb Mount Everest, I mean that album is like Diamond, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of their albums is Diamond. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's Speaker Box to Love Below.
And that's from pre-streaming. I think it
Yeah.
got there pre-streaming. Okay,
Hmm.
so dude, that's Mount Everest. Don't as a just in terms of your achievement, you would have to at least be curious. Could we do it again, or could we get close again, or even just maybe not those sales, but did we have more in the tank that we didn't utilize? And that's got to be frustrating.
I would imagine. You gotta feel like I think there's got to be two levels because he's had a few albums of his own out since, and none of them have reached that kind of height.
No, of course not.
So I don't know if he's been gold even, and there's no shade on Big Boy. I think he's still a brilliant dude. I think he's just sort of it's one thing to some people are just better in a duet.
Well, and what we loved about Outcast is the chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it's hard to be Lennon without McCartney.
Sure,
And
sure.
it's not that Lennon didn't do brilliant things and McCartney didn't do brilliant things. It's just like it just wasn't the same without the other one.
Right, right.
So I think there's got to be some frustration that you can't get there yourselves. I think he's probably understands the dynamic that like, hey, together we can take over the world, but maybe independently we can't.
Hmm.
On the other hand, I'm sure there's definitely frustration with what you described, where it's like, hey, we built this Maserati and we can't drive it anymore, and now it's getting old and rusted. It's been out in the rain, and it would take a lot to restore it.
Yeah, and yet people walk by and admire it in the front yard and lawn, like, and think, "Oh wow, what if only that thing were on the road? What could it do?" Still, right?
Sure,
Yeah. I mean, my guess is he's had so many years at this point to accept it. He's accepted his fate.
probably.
But you're not going to pin this guy right here. You're not going to pin your future on it. It's there's no hope of ever getting him back, and that's really too bad. Now you could compile. I don't know. I almost feel like they should trick him into doing like they could be like, "Oh, we're doing. Listen, listen, listen. We're doing these features. We're doing like can you just do a bunch of these features? Like just take a week and like do that, and then like somehow swap it out with different, and somehow turn that into an album and be like, okay, we tricked you. This is an album."
Well, I mean, if you ever want to talk to him again, I think that's why you don't do it.
Yeah, well, too bad. It's too bad. It's a shame. And
Absolutely.
this does not bode well for where I think he's going. And he does not have the creative support system around him for anybody to push him to do better. To really take this, if you're going to do it, take it seriously enough to fully execute. Don't just fart around on a piano and pretend that you're like playing Thelonious Monk. Come on, man.
Do you think that there is a genre or approach outside of hip hop that he should attempt?
You cut out for just a second. Do I what approach
Do you
outside
think
of
there
him?
is a genre or approach to music outside of hip hop? Outside of Outkast, outside of the long awaited Never Gonna Happen solo album that he should approach?
No, I don't think he should be doing music in this frame of mind because he's not taking music seriously enough. The trajectory from New Blue Sun to this just is a real red flag for me. I think he needs to just peel back and get recentered with what drives him to live first, and eventually the creativity will come back in some form. I think this is a very confused person
Wow.
with relation to what his existential reason to exist is, because for so many creative people, when they're on the come up, that's what it is. Clearly, this becoming expected of him damaged or warped his relationship with that thing, because he's obviously a creative person, and I think had he not gotten super famous, he would be doing a bunch of different stuff. I also so say they were sort of well known, but like he had the freedom to do whatever, and nobody really expected much publicly. He'd probably be doing different things, have his hand in different pots, right? And would be kind of a restless artist, hard to pin down kind of artist. But this is a really pronounced case of that sort of creative illness. And I think he needs to just do something else, go be around people and get regrounded in other people's experiences and how you can support that. Get back in tune with life, get back connected with life and with people.
Your logic's strong. I guess the piece that I have always sort of thought that he could attempt it, because he is a multi instrumentalist.
Mhm.
Strangely
Clearly.
enough, and if you listen back to old Outcasts, even go back to Speaker Box to Love Below, all the piano was him. All the guitar was him.
I know.
And he could really play guitar. I thought he could do a rock record, like.
Yeah,
he obviously sing. He could. Linkin Park is a bad analog, but I'm thinking sort of like this sort of hip hop. He, even back then, if you listen to that era Outcast, it was this sort of, like a lot of music was of that era, where it was sort of this merging of hip hop and rock. I could see him sort of, okay, let me go to the extreme of this.
Right, sort of like
would have been more logical.
Yeah, sort of like a post Prince paradigm.
Yes,
kind of a thing.
Perfect. And I think because I think really he was, that's what he was channeling. I mean, if you think about it, with the Love Below, I mean, it's very Prince like.
Yeah. The problem is, I think he would do that in a really self-conscious way. I don't think this guy knows what he wants to express, and his antenna is jammed between reception and expression. So like an artist, when you're on all cylinders, you're sponging everything. You're taking everything in like a sponge, and it's just sort of oozing back through your pores. Something is not right with that system. His pores are clogged, actually, creatively.
Sure.
And so I think he would do that in a similar way as, I mean, dude, Prince was fucking serious.
Mm-hmm.
And for his entire life, somehow managed to keep that creative drive going. Now, I don't know what kinds of sacrifices he made. I mean, he didn't have kids. So that's, honestly, that's something you have to, I'm trying to call this guy over. Excuse me. Can you come here for a second?
Uh-oh.
Do you want to say something on my live stream? Because I'll just show you real quick. I don't know if you want to. I'm live streaming now on YouTube, but we're talking about Andre 3000 from Outkast. Did you feel like saying hi on there? I don't know if you're allowed to, or if you're up for that. But if I'll just go like this, that's what we're talking about. Okay. Yeah, I just want so.
Oh,
the lighting is not great.
Hello.
He can't hear. So I'm in the cafe at our our local supermarket chain. And what's your name again?
My name is
Elias.
Elias.
Elias has
Just
been
call me Eli.
Eli has been
What's up,
dancing.
Eli?
So I've been having this cool dance show while you and I've been talking, and I wanted to share it with everybody. That's all I wanted to let everybody know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eli. See.
Oh.
So while we've been talking, Eli has been doing that, and I just had to. Yeah. He seemed a little confused. Like, you're doing a live stream, like what? Like, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, but Prince was like serious. You can't do that half-assed. And
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that.
you know, and you're right. He is versatile. He's a multi-instrumentalist. And he's clearly somebody who I don't think is the kind of musician that like practices a lot, but you can jump on any instrument and do stuff.
Sure.
But the impetus and the motivation to pick that instrument up and what channels through your from wherever into your through your hands, that has to be resolute. And right now it's not. Right now he's his antennas are fucked up, I think. So, dude, if he did a Sign of the Times kind of record,
Oh yeah.
it was seriously executed, I'll be right back on the train.
Sure. But once again, we're not betting on it.
Hell no. Hell no. Dude, these dances from Eli are great. I'm sorry.
you could see I wasn't sure what was going on, but like over the last yeah, it's like
yeah, it's great. He's got his own style.
I'm trying to do my Eli.
And I'm not making fun of him at all. I really genuinely like appreciate that.
He seems to be having a good time, man.
Totally. And like, you know, the music plays here, and so it'll play like classic 70s rock, and then sometimes like old soul music.
Yeah.
And so then sometimes he'll be dancing to it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is nice, you know. And we'll talk about it.
Which Wegmans?
I'm at East Ave. Or should we say that on?
Yeah, I've been in there. Yeah. I like the setup. Okay. There was one other. Oh yeah. Okay. Can we address the photo just directly?
Which photo?
The one that's on the screen now.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, it was on his. It was his album cover, basically, right?
Thank you, Eli. Thank you.
Live on the internet, ain't nothing like it.
I'm gonna tell him next time the train rolls by, the groove train. I'm gonna tell him how much
slide it over there.
That brings up the vibe in here, man. It's awesome.
I'm gonna miss him when I bring you live in studio. It's gonna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this could be my regular spot. It's not that noisy in here right now. I'm surprised this is working, but
still, we'll have to do at least one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I got the multi-camera deal happening here. Let me show you this.
While you do that, I want to make. Oh, nice. I want to make a point. Kendrick better be careful, or look at this as a cautionary tale. I don't think Kendrick's going to trip out in this way.
Yeah,
but just look at that. If you're Kendrick,
I can see it.
Okay.
Look, what was that line from Drake where he raps like he freed the slaves? You know, like the man takes himself incredibly seriously, which is the thing that could prevent this kind
That's what I was going to say. He's too self-important for this to happen to him, but it could make him suck too.
it also could drive him to the point where it's like I've proven everything. Therefore, I need to go outside the box, and I need to, instead of sort of have jazz influences on it's gonna be all right. I'm gonna just do a jazz album.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, oh my God, he might look at this and go, you know what? Andre can't do the real jazz shit. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the first. Well,
Sure.
Robert Glasper,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Uh,
But whatever. I'm gonna be
by
the
the
first like major hip hop figure to really pull it off. Oh my God, that hubris
by
would.
the way, he's coming to town.
Robert Glasper?
Yeah, and it's gonna be
Oh,
free.
when Jazz Fest?
Juneteenth.
Jazz. Okay, I'm there. I'm there,
I'm
dude.
there too, and I'm gonna try to invite him on the show.
Well, use the fact that I reviewed his album if that
Yeah,
helps you.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try to track him down and say, hey, can we sit down with you? Like, it'd be great.
I can
Um,
do. I can get his publicists.
oh,
Probably.
do
I
it,
can.
do it, do it,
While
and we
you
can
talk, I'm gonna.
do it, and we can set up. We can either hell, we can even bring him to a studio, and like, and whether it's here or I know another place that's. But we could off mic. We can work that out.
Fuck it, bring him here and have him meet Eli.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Let's do it.
Oh my God, I'm putting
Yeah,
Robert Glasper on my calendar in all caps.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. For those of you who, and thanks for sticking with us. A few of you guys have this long haul as we approach an hour here. Robert Glasper is definitely one of my favorite acts now. As who called it old black dentist music? Someone called it old black.
I don't know.
A friend of mine called it.
That's not fair. That's not fair at all.
I think it was more of a joke about me.
Oh, okay.
Than anything. But Robert Glasper is definitely one of my favorites, and I'm looking forward to seeing him live.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. Now we don't know if he's going to do a jazz set or like a more fusiony, because he switches between the two, and sometimes just does straight jazz, sometimes doesn't, and then also has a bunch of different configurations, like different bands, different like it's like the Robert Glasper blah 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 or Black Radio, like it's
Mm-hmm.
the Robert Glasper Experience, I think, is one of them, and so we don't know. But listen, now that I think about it, Kendrick is in very serious danger of pursuing this path. It's almost like a siren call, right? To 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 do something grand outside the box in hip hop that might pull him down. It's the bottom of the ocean. We'll see.
Yeah,
'Cause
isn't it like just sort of being capsized by your own over seriousness?
Sure. And I mean, Kendrick is even more jazz adjacent than, because he's got the real, like those musicians
Sure.
who can pull it off. So he's like, yo, I can, if Kendrick's like, fuck it, I'm just going to do like Ella Fitzgerald type stuff or something, like.
It would be interesting. I mean, look, I gave this record from Andre a listen because of the cred that he has built up with me. And I think it would be the same with Kendrick. If Kendrick decided he's going to do Ella Fitzgerald in the aughts, not the aughts, but the 20 teens. And it's not even the 20 teens, it's 2020s.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I feel old. Look, by the way, all this gray, it's not quite Saby level, but like it's seeping into my brain.
Well, you definitely look like you came from the country club for sure.
Do they have the long emergency at the country club? Is that it? Of these days.
So, what were you going to say about the picture before? Like, you can say something with,
Yeah, look, I look, he's always been a flamboyant dresser, but it was usually not as self. It's usually not an advertisement. That's what struck me about it. Usually when he did the let's go back to this. It was literally a commentary of not being sold on a tour where they sold a ton of tickets, and like I'm gonna do something ironic, and I'm not gonna wear anything glamorous, and I'm gonna make a political statement. While this was like, buy my record.
Yeah.
And it for me, that spoke to a shift in how he's sort of moved. And maybe it's just a different point in his career. I mean, when you have the going back to this, I mean, yes, they had been out of the spotlight for a while. He hadn't performed live in a while. If I remember correctly, this is in the early 20 teens. Maybe mid 20 teens. I'm not sure which. But it wasn't prime Outkast. This is like 10 years after the fact. But everybody was amped to hear him play Hey Ya, to hear him play, Bombs Over Baghdad in all the hits. Here, it's like, it feels like he's begging.
Well, it shows you how he feels about the material, his own stuff. He's willing to hawk it. And while doing Outkast, he feels like a cog in a machine, like an organ grinder. And he's gonna make a statement about how he's not, he's being commodified, right? But there, he's willing to commodify his own stuff because he feels better about it. He's okay with like, hey, I want you to check this out. So his heart is in his own stuff. It's not like he's very ambivalent about being swept up in Outkast, clearly.
And here's the funny thing. It gets back to the thing you pointed out with the no bars. So he's like, he badly wants us to consume this, knowing that he's going to offend many of us. It just seems like a twisted way to go. You know what I mean?
It's like walking into a room with a t-shirt that says, I know you're going to get mad at me, or I know you're going to tell me to shut up or something.
Okay.
Like, it's like preempting the response. I know you're going to scream at me or something. I know you're going to tell me to go fuck myself. It's like, and so when you lock into that expectation, you're going to precipitate that kind of response. It's like he's almost, I don't want to say reveling, but he's really overly conscious of the rejection.
Reveling is an interesting way to put it, because when I think of reveling, I think of something that's more positive. That's more like he's enjoying the fact that he's needling everyone. But if he's afraid of pushback, I wouldn't necessarily consider that enjoyment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of feelings. I think it's a sort of a messy soup of different feelings going on. And how about this? I'm willing to wager that when he plays shows and does improvisations with his bass flute or the piano, does he have anxiety attacks then? Probably not.
Okay. So this is tied back to hip hop, to those songs, probably those experiences with those songs, probably the way he sort of sits in the world. He sees himself in that guise, and how, I guess, contorted I would assume he feels inside of. I'm overanalyzing Andre
No,
here.
but that's a perfect word for I think it hits on the head.
So, do you think we're being too hard on him then?
You asking the audience or you asking me?
I, I mean, all the above.
I don't think we're being too hard on him. I think the vibe that comes across is contorted. I think the one thing we do have to say is we don't know what it's like to be in that situation, how that would might or likely would fry our circuits into doing odd, weird, sort of self sabotaging shit, you know, because I kind of feel like it's inescapable to go through, and just from all the people I've heard talk about it and how they respond to it, and I was about to record a short-ish, not a YouTube short, but a really like quick, just sort of off the top of my head video where because I heard Joe Strummer from the Clash talking about in an interview how there's times where people come up to me, they want an autograph or a picture, and I'm just like kind of like, oh, come on, man. But then I think about it, and it's like, well, you could have an ego about it, or you could just be cool. We don't think about, like, the point of my video is going to be like, if you've had a bad experience when you walk up to an artist and try to engage them, and it doesn't quite go the way you wanted, people like just by default sympathize with the fan, and they think, oh, well, that person wasn't cool, they should be cool to their fans. We don't think about what that expectation does to the person that's being projected on, right? Where someone's like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. It's like all this projection, and I don't think we're built to be able to withstand a ton of that. And so we're asking more than what we think we are of these people. And I think when I want artists to stay on track, I'm not in their shoes. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm like, well, you should somehow find a. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
um, the Eli train is back. Like, it's easy for us to say, right? We didn't go diamond, and then have all these feelings about fame, and then go through that. It seems like, I don't think I'm overusing this word. It seems like it was traumatic to him.
Mm-hmm.
Success,
Sure.
right? And so he's chafing against that now. Who knows what you and I might do if we did something that just was coming naturally to us, and all of a sudden it goes is like the biggest thing, and everybody pins that on you. I sent you that clip of Tyler the Creator saying he doesn't do funny videos anymore.
Sure.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, man, like your sense of humor was like a big part of who you are. Now I don't do it because people will come up to him and say, oh, you're that funny guy. And he's like, dude, I just made a record with an orchestra or something, right? But it killed his desire to do humor publicly, which was one of his main modes of just being natural. That tells me something. And I think this can happen. I think content creation is sort of the new frontier for the everyday person to run into this same wall where, like, you and I would be doing this with or without a camera, right?
Yeah. And we did.
Right. And we do. And my
Do,
thing,
yeah.
the reason why I'm on YouTube is I literally walk down the street talking to myself about these things. I'm like, fuck it, let me just point a camera at it and try to make it work for me. But I could see getting to a point where it feels like I'm hooked up to a reverse IV drip that's pulling drops out more than it's giving me back. I could see it getting to that point if, like, oh, you've got to do 6 of these videos a day, or even, man, that last video really hit. Let's, because if it did, then you have like a machine behind you. I can remember Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses and other people in this position saying, when you when something you've done gets big on that scale, you completely lose control of your life. You are being dragged along by this thing that has its own momentum. And most of us in the 80s looking at a band going double platinum, we'd be like, wow, I'd love that, would be amazing, right? So maybe there's more of the story here. I don't know that we're being too hard. We're not in his shoes. I think he could approach this better, though. Even not being in his shoes, I feel like if he had the right support, somebody to talk to him like this, if he would listen, if he would hear it, to kind of be like, hey, man, rewater your garden, your creative garden. You're a creative person. That's never going to change. Why are you kind of playing games with your own muse is what I would ask him just to consider.
I want to double down on that whole creator economy kind of logic because it's not something I've thought about too much, but I want to sort of ideate out loud about that. So, I believe that we're in what I call the unlimited era, where basically we can hop on. We talked about this a couple days ago, but we can with a software that I pay, a monthly fee for, and we got just rudimentary cameras and microphones and all this stuff. We can hop online in a couple minutes and have something that looks relatively professional and like have a conversation, and we can be in front of a bunch of people over time, and it's really cool. That's also a treadmill. I do it on my own. You do it on your own. It's something like, as you said, we do naturally. When you become, when it becomes a job, which we've both done as well, it's a different thing. I don't know. I know definitely in news, it felt more like a treadmill.
Hmm.
And it's not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think I definitely got better at presenting myself in writing and appearing on camera and appearing in front of a microphone, knowing how far, usually about a fist, to keep my face, keep myself still, all that sort of stuff that fits in. I've been fortunate. I got, training, all that stuff. But as a content creator, you are doing it with this sort of, it bleeds into the rest of your life. With work, there is this sort of this declarative line. And I know I'm all over the place, but I am pulling in.
No, not at all.
I was watching one of my favorite shows. I watch House Hunters. I love House Hunters. I love House Hunters International in particular. It's one of the greatest shows on the planet. You get the ugly American who decides that they're going to move to Honduras and get a house as big as suburban Rochester. It's great. I turn off my brain. I kick back and I watch House Hunters.
It's kind of like my 600-pound life for Holmes.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I'm watching House Hunters, and there's this vlogger. All right, this who this Jamaican blogger chick who she makes vlogs, and that's how she supports herself and her daughter. And they're moving from Jamaica to Mexico, and they want all the amenities and size and all this stuff. And it occurred to me that everywhere this woman goes as a travel vlogger, she's not having a private moment.
Nope.
That she's just doing it for she's given away every moment that would be hers and maybe hers and her daughters to the world. And I don't know that that's a healthy way to go about things. And so I understand the two parts of that drive, the drive to like, yes, I want to build an audience. Yes, I you know, I am the crazy person who put together this room. And when you see this room, you'll realize how crazy I am. You know, multiple cameras, freaking lights, overpaid for microphones and all this stuff. I got my board here.
Can somebody confirm if he's being accused by snow bunnies or Afro queens?
So I put in so too much thought and effort into it. So I understand, but I wonder about the cost of everybody create not only being the product, you know, us being sold to advertisers, but actively participating not passively, but actively creating the product.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry about the weight on interpersonal interactions in society over time of a growing chunk of society creating things being their own private movie studio
And their
or
own
radio station or TV studio.
and expression, assembly line of expression,
It's
right?
fake.
Right. Whereas like expression is organic. Boy, and I'm so glad we're talking about this because it I think it helps us empathize somewhat with where someone like an Andre 3000 might be at, because if we examine our own ambivalence already, right, then imagine being at the height of what is considered like success in whatever lane you're doing it in. Boy, I wrestle with this a lot too, because right now I'm really enjoying it. I also have some struggle because, okay, so I've spent 20 years writing about music, and I feel like, and also amassing this giant archive of interviews with musicians, and I feel like, look, it would be irresponsible of me not to try to build something on that body of work. And so me talking on camera is in some way referencing this relationship with music that I've built. I find that when a video of mine is getting some response, I do have to fight the urge to answer the comments and engage while I'm with my daughter, for example. And I also imagine it's like, man, if there were 20,000 people watching the video, how how much self-control would it take for me to put my phone down while I'm trying to be present as a parent or with someone else? But then I go back to, it's like, man, but I'm doing this stuff anyway. It feels wrong not to, even if it's
Mhm.
frivolous and I'm talking about Pink Floyd, and it's like, well, do you have a real job, and all this stuff. It's like, no, I have to focus that and try to present that. But I do get concerned that at some point I will just sour on the process, just in a way that will twist, and the word used, the perfect word, contort my relationship with just free expression, free flowing expression about music, about whatever we talk about. And that's where Andre's at. you know? So, and I mean, look, you talked about working in a newsroom and feeling like, I don't even remember exactly how you put it, but sort of it taking the fun or the life out of some of these things. I never felt that way with writing, but I often, like when I interview somebody and it's like, great, I feel this incredible high, and often drag my feet for months and sometimes even years in delivering that interview to a finished form. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Right? What is it that about that part of it that some part of me feels hesitation, where I'll jump into doing the interview and I'm figuring that out. I think these are the same types of questions someone in a position like Andre or any famous musician has to ask themselves. What is it that's motivating me? Because sometimes you see people, they keep doing it. Like, to his credit, he's not happy doing it as on autopilot, right? He could go out there and just keep doing it and doing it, and with his heart not really in it. That wouldn't be great either. And sometimes you can tell that somebody's or they come across very clearly like that's what's happening. So I don't know. We will. You and I almost have no choice but to do this. It's just the whole world is now doing it in a way. And I think the questions you're asking are very, very, very important. But I don't think we would be being true to ourselves if we stopped either. So
Yeah.
that's so now we're sort of caught. It's like everybody's doing this thing, but we were kind of here first. Not in the content creation, but we were doing expression in legitimate quote unquote channels.
Sure.
You on radio and TV and me in writing. And now it's like, nah, we have shit to say, like, so I don't know where that goes. I don't know how people like a Dave Smith, like
Wow.
like deals with all that feedback, right? You go on Rogan and like fucking millions of people are just like his notifications must be like, how
Well,
do you?
it gets stuck on 99 plus.
That's true. That's true.
I
But how,
look forward to that, man. Looking forward.
I don't. I don't. I don't. I want my manageable following. I want my. I look at my online presence. I've said this so many times as a
Yeah.
bakery cafe that has its clientele that I get to interact with. That's cool. I want it to stay manageable size. Now you can say I'm handicapping myself off the bat because I don't really want to try to have big. Dude, if big huge number success ever presented itself, I would jump on it. But I'm concerned about what that does to a person. How does a Joe Rogan connect with his fans? He can't. He can't. Right? Smaller channels can. They can engage. They can shoot the shit with people a little bit more. And I think that's part of the fun too. That's what I'm after, is creating a group, basically a group chat. Fucking like
Yeah.
glorified group text of people I can talk to.
As am I, but I obviously have grander ambitions. But I just to the point about Rogan, I mean, I think Rogan he talks about it, encountering people on the road. And I think of other giant podcasts. I don't know if you follow All In at all. The
No.
All In podcast. Basically,
Nope.
these are a bunch of tech bros, CEO dudes who met over a series of poker games.
Okay.
And now they do a show. They have like parties for their fans where they interact and they have this sort of more intimate relationship directly, one-to-one. So I think that's strangely enough that speaks to a media story that I'm seeing play out more and more, is that you're not only seeing that with content creators sort of as they scale, you're seeing that with big media companies as they scale down.
Interesting. See,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing that I think is healthy about where we're going. I love the intra-community communication that's built on these platforms. I love talking to other fans of a Substack or a show or a podcast without even the main people being a part of it. It's just like, okay, you guys talk amongst yourselves. I really like that. That is cool. And that's what I want to build. And here's the other thing, though, where I think this plagues a lot of musicians that you and I love. If you don't reach a certain threshold, I will not feel like I did this legitimately. I am
Mhm.
locked in by my own sense of accomplishment that I need to reach a certain level with this, or else I'm just gonna have been fucking around and like it's just gonna be, a failure basically. And then what happens when you get there, right? I look at musicians. I've talked to so many of them that I can see that progression playing out in a lot of these people, and but I have no choice at this point. Like I literally feel like I have no choice. I must put my weight behind this effort and reach a minimum level, right? And I don't know what that even feels like or looks like once you get there. But I also have to say I'm enjoying getting there, and I think there's ways now with what you're talking about. Musicians can't have that kind of interaction with fans. Content creators can't. That's the difference.
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure that that's true anymore. I mean, thinking beyond the old message boards where, yeah, you did have that. Let's say, I know that was it. Okay, let's make a hypothetical. We were talking about rappers earlier, so let's create a hypothetical rapper. Not someone who gets to the top of the mountain, but someone on the way up, and how they
Why don't we
support
just
them.
say? Sorry, why don't we just say Open Mike Eagle because he's
Okay,
online. He has a
open mic.
podcast.
Yeah, let's say open mic eagle, but I was thinking someone even even a little bit lower on the total pole than open mic.
Okay, and not to interrupt you, but he's also coming here.
Oh, is he?
He's opening for oh my god, I forgot the band he's opening for. I'll tell you in a second. I don't mean to throw you off, but I just wanted to.
No worries.
to
But let's say you're open mic eagle, or you're a proto open mic eagle.
you want to
On
be at his scale, and you're not even there yet.
Yeah, and you are moving up through the world. Wouldn't the logical way to make money these days be Substack, be Patreon,
Yep.
and sort of build your Kevin Kelly 1,000 true fans through that, and then hope to scale out of there. In worst case scenario, you got your people who will rock with you and support you if you don't blow up, and if you and if you do, you have them plus this group of super fans that will go to war for you. I mean, that's kind of the J. Cole story, obviously without Patreon. But if you really think about how he rose, and I think Kendrick to a smaller degree, but J. Cole's in a particular example where he built his audience really touring. Like it was just doing tiny shows over and over and over again, and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And he found a niche, which was like, hey, I'm not going to have a feature. So he kind of had a gimmick, and and then he brought his crew along with him, the Dreamville guys, and built a little world around himself. And yes, he's grown out of that world, but like, but that's not existing outside of that world is not necessary for him. For a guy like Drake, on the other hand, he needs to be outside that world. Without that world, if he's not outside that his core, he doesn't have oxygen.
Right. And so I think that's what's healthy about this time period. You can aim to have a minimum sort of threshold you reach that you can still exist within. And listen, this doesn't just apply to fame. Restaurant owners.
Yeah.
What if that's a person who loves food, and then after 35 years of doing the ordering, doing the hiring and firing, jumping in on the dish line when the dishwasher doesn't show up, bussing tables, hosting, having your kids work at the restaurant, having your sister-in-law, blah 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 blah. Do they still love food as much? Can they go out and enjoy a steak at a restaurant the way they used to? Um, and that's not even like fame per se, but that's the same relationship where you and I are discussing now, though, right? It's like, wow, I have this passion for this thing. I want to, and I want to build on that. I want to provide that for people and be compensated for it, and build a business, build an engine, and build a restaurant that's humming. How does that person feel when they retire about food, seafood, or donut, or Abbott's, or Don's Original, whatever it is? Do they love that thing the way they did before? Can
Yeah,
they? Can they preserve that?
we're talking about the relationship between a person and their work.
Yes, and by work, I would say the thing that drives us, that would emanate from our being anyway, that can be our bridge to the world, to the rest of the world. You know what I'm to life, to people around us. And how do you maintain that bridge?
Yeah, we got a couple comments here.
Oh, cool.
The solo verse by Andre is one of the most underrated rap verses of all time. SSS, lots of S. How do you guys rate it? And at the same time, he's using pop culture medium and platform for his own benefit. That's a plus for me.
So how do you rate that verse in solo?
Solo verse by Andre. It depends on which one are you talking about. Like, I mean, I probably need a bit more clarity. SSS on this one, but look, I think when he's been solo, he's been pretty awesome. When yeah, okay, that's interesting. I didn't notice I could do that. I'm learning this platform. Okay. We could have the chat running throughout.
And you
So,
also were impressed with some of his recent features,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is what aggravates you even more. Is like, okay, it's clearly he
His
has
pen is sharp.
Right, and his
Yeah, it's
tongue.
yeah. It's it's a writer who, is still making, writing a great column, who just decides, oh, I'm going to write poetry.
Yeah, or write a column on something that none of his audience. No, I don't think anybody in his hip hop audience wants. I mean, maybe there's some people who have an appreciation for jazz, but like the percentage has got to be under 5%. I'd say closer to like 3 or under percent. That's the over under on. Of all the people who really love his stuff from Outkast, that's what they're fans of. They don't want this. You certainly do not want this.
I don't. But that's an interesting question, because the audience is the thing that he was so embraced by that NPR crew, and
For
and
new,
it wasn't his traditional audience. With what was it? New Blue Sun? What was it called?
yes.
It was it was like, oh, Andre, that I think it probably gave him license to just do whatever the fuck he wants. And look, he's earned it in many ways. I can't begrudge him feeling that way, but I do begrudge, as you mentioned earlier, no one around him saying, "Hey, dude, like, how about finish this?"
Or also, you've still got it in the original thing you became known for. do you need to abandon it? Because you're going to lose your fastball eventually.
Yeah.
So,
I guess. Yeah, sure.
but until you do, why not get out there and throw a few? You know,
Do you know anyone who didn't lose their fastball?
that is a really good question. There are probably people who aged really, really gracefully, but I think that I'm sure there are. Well, actually, James Brown, the singer, the
Yeah,
more well known James Brown, yeah.
my namesake.
Um, I saw him here at the jazz festival 6 months before he died.
And he was still good?
Okay, well, so the show blew me away, and I was sitting on the benches across from Eastman Theater, so like I could throw a Nerf ball across the street and hit the door of the theater. And I had a press pass that year because I was like blogging it at the end of each night for City, going to like 3 and 4 shows a night for like 11 days or whatever it is, 9 days or something. It was awesome. It was a lot. But I was like, he's old. I don't want to see James Brown in a diminished state. This is not going to be live at the Apollo 1964. He's not going to be in peak form. I'm not going to go. But then I'm sitting on the bench looking at the entrance, and I'm like, okay, if you don't go to the show, and it was great, like it takes no effort for you to walk across the street right now and go to the show, you'd be a fucking idiot. So I said, all right, I'll go. Blew the fucking roof off the place. Easily one of the most intense live shows I've ever been to.
Wow.
I was dead 6 months later.
He was like 80, right?
Something like that. Dude, it was like like the whole time. So now, could he have made a new record though that did that? I don't think so.
So it perhaps it was he because from what I understand about people who did work with him, he was very intense about routine, and he was very intense about his band staying on the P's and Q's. Like he was a perfectionist about how the kind of show they put on night after night after night. And it's not that they wouldn't, elaborate or sort of get out of pocket, but he didn't tolerate. Papa didn't put up with no mess.
Right. He fined his musicians. He would dock their pay from flubbing notes and things like that.
He was
at least in the classic era. Yeah. At least like.
And I think it went pretty late. Like I don't think it was just I don't think it was just 60s, 70s. James, as he went deeper, he was pretty strict.
Yeah, he probably had more sway, more power to do that. But I mean, the like Clyde Stubblefield, the most sampled drummer in hip hop,
Sure,
that funky drummer, like he talks about that and kind of laughs about it. I will send you now the Stories from the Road, the Mike Judge animated series where Bootsy Collins talks about being fired from James Brown's band.
Oh,
I
really?
think we should show that on the as we exit.
Yeah,
Whenever you're dude, it's hilarious. If you've never seen it, I want to watch this with you. But give me a minute to find it while you're talking, because holy shit.
Yeah. James was an intense performer. He's definitely. I mean, I know Prince and Michael Jackson both took inspiration from him, as did so many other performers. He was a guy. He was a tiny man who commanded the entire stage, and I think he was the ultimate showman, I'd say. I mean, go ahead.
Well, and also refused to play some segregated venues, or refused to play to segregated crowds at a time where that was really ballsy.
Yeah, for sure.
To do that. So yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna text this to you now.
Well, can you email me?
Yes, I will. Definitely. Holy shit, this is good. And I'm not saying we should end now, but
Yeah,
this
we
is
can.
straight.
Yeah, we can wrap after this. This is fun.
But yeah, man. So I mean, because I do kind of have an ageist thing. I don't like to see people past their prime because to me it's like, eh. But then sometimes, clearly, my hunch is wrong, and that's in the top 10 shows I've ever seen.
Wow.
That show. The dude was
Man.
like a nuclear reactor going off in Kilburn Hall. No, not
Man.
Kilburn. The Eastman Theater, the main one on the corner.
Okay. I'm looking for the
I'm gonna
the
email.
only other place that would make sense if you could drop it in our chat.
I wouldn't be able to do that. So let me
Okay.
just. I mean, I would, but it's just I just emailed it to you.
Okay.
This is, dude. I'm excited for you to watch this.
Okay, here we are, just waiting. A couple moments.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if there's a parallel here with the NBA, right? Where somebody like James Brown and BB King, who like pretty much worked until they died, like just kept going,
before the show,
are like older NBA players being like, "What the fuck are you like? What are you doing?" Like
Load management.
right, exactly. You want to go play flute? What? Like, I wonder. I mean, I think more musicians have spun off the highway from multiple generations. You obviously have Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, and there have been people, but I wonder if some of this is a generational thing too. Then again, fame maybe has gotten exponentially more difficult because you're getting more and more attention with each passing decade. I don't know, just some questions.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it has gotten more difficult. I tend to agree. That just the volume of it, the scale of it, is so difficult now that even say the Jordan era,
Sure.
or go back to, I guess, who would have been the apex athlete before Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I something that LeBron James, I guess, would be apex now. That, by the way, that would be an very interesting thought exercise to go through. Who was the apex athlete throughout the years? But I think fame is definitely harder now than it was then. I think the rewards are bigger now. I think. But it's very interesting to think about. I'm not sure I have a great answer for it.
But we don't need one because we have Bootsy to kind of take everything you and I have been talking about and toss it like a tray of like dishes, like a waiter's tray, and just take it and flip it and toss it all over so it splatters all over the wall. This is the perfect conclusion to everything we've been talking about and puts it in a different perspective entirely.
we had this thing, Frankie, myself, Chicken, Chopper. What we would do was we would crush up 2 or 3 orange sunshine and put it in whatever we're drinking, and we would pass them around,
Orange Sunshine was the name of maybe the most popular version of LSD known to man.
Wow.
And so, we back there getting high, and next thing you know, out of the clear blue, James Brown comes over to join us.
Can you take the subtitles off? Oh, no,
James' whole thing was no drugs. He had fired people for getting high and stuff. So he comes over and he says, hit me. And it's like, nah. I said, you don't want none of this. And he's like, give it. So I'm saying to myself, do I give it to him? Yeah, give it to him. So he starts just going at it, he's drinking, and he ain't giving it back, and ain't nobody saying stop. And we just standing there amazed. So when he gets finished, we go in to play the set. And James didn't know it at the time, but he was tripping out of his freaking mind.
He was smiling like a chess cat, for real, you know. It got him.
He did some way out dance. Then he did this new thing called the moon. He stood like this for about 15 minutes. And we were trying to figure out what the heck is he doing. He wasn't doing nothing but this, you know. And then he would do his head like this. And he told us it was the cool new dance. When that gig finished, James called us back to the dressing room and he told me, son, y'all ain't on it. Don't have it. Y'all just ain't killing me. And we looking at each other like, this motherfucker is crazy. When he would go off into his James Brown tantrums, we would start falling on the floor. That shit was funny. He tried to bring in these rules, and the rules just didn't work on us.
I'll never forget, it was Dallas, Texas. We were playing a show, and we obliviated. You know, we crazy, man, so out of our minds. And that night, we just lost it.
All I remember from that night is a neck on my bass turned into a snake. And I looked at it, and it looked back at me. And I threw it down and ran.
I looked back at James, and he just shook his head. You know, he was just done.
James found me backstage, and he comes in. And
I gotta back up. I'm sorry.
No. I told you this was great. Can we watch so the audience can see your reactions?
I can give me a moment.
Okay. I told you this was good.
Oh, I didn't know it was that good. Jesus. Let me try to replace with okay, let's see. Oh man. Oh my God, that was really great.
Yeah, it gets better.
Oh. I'd have to download it.
Okay. Yeah, let's just keep watching. There's not much longer.
Let's see. Okay.
We can just keep watching full screen, and then we'll say our buys after.
Okay. Okay. All right, we're back. Oh, there we go. Found a way. All right, we'll back up a bit.
we would start falling on the floor. That shit was funny. He tried to bring in these rules, and the rules just didn't work on us.
I'll never forget, it was Dallas, Texas. We were playing a show, and we obliviated. You know, we crazy, man, so out of our minds. And that night, we just lost it.
All I remember from that night is a neck on my bass turned into a snake. And I looked at it, and it looked back at me. And I threw it down and ran.
I looked back at James, and he just shook his head.
James found me backstage. He comes in, and he's angry.
I'm sorry. I gotta stop it again.
This is a great shot right here where you froze it. That's so great. It's like Bootsy's obviously scared.
I'm a tiny man in an orange leotard, the pendant with embroidered with the word sex around his. Oh my god!
And he's yelling at a bandmate who's tripping on LSD.
How could I have not seen this? This is awesome.
Yeah, and it's Mike Judge. You can tell from the narrator. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it looks like King of the Hill or
Totally.
freaking Beavis and Butthead.
Totally.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, come on.
And his face begins to look like it is turning purple. Like volcanic, lava shooting out of his forehead. His hair is fire. Just said, y'all fired. Jojo, come here and get this fool out of here. They picked me up off the floor, threw us all out. That was it.
Wow. Well, look. Before we go, I gotta play the most amazing interview. We gotta. It's right there. It's you've seen this, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the famous. Yeah. So can the audience hear this as well? Because it sounds like
Yes.
we're hearing the speakers. Okay. All right.
Yeah. It helps us not be flagged.
Okay, I got it.
But let me make sure I'll see what I can do about it. Go on. Add context.
Well, to this interview, I feel like I saw this, or it was a big thing right afterwards. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think I know where it's going, and I'm excited to see because you seem to remember it better. But I feel I feel like this was caused tremors when it happened.
Well, he was being sued, I think, or at least accused of was it assault or whatever it was,
Domestic violence, I think.
Yeah, and I was 4, so this is definitely something that I saw way later on, and on my interview show that I'm doing, Anatomy of an Interview. We're gonna definitely run through this one because this is gonna be great. This is great. This is fantastic. If you haven't seen it.
With a lead pipe and firing a gun at a car that she was in. Charges that, as a fact, it resulted, as a matter of fact, in assaulting his wife with a lead pipe and firing a gun at a car that she was in. These are charges that Brown denies. He was released yesterday on $15,000. The charges, and we welcome you, James Brown. How did all of this trouble begin?
Living in America. Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong at all. You're not in any difficulty, but you're out on bond.
No, I'm not.
Have all the charges been dropped?
Yeah, I'm out on love.
Well, are you out on love or out of love? Which is it?
Out on love. Oh, lonesome night tonight, you find me.
You and your wife have had a problem. Are the two of you going to be able to work this out?
Let's talk about some music.
You want to talk about music and you don't want to talk about what happened?
No, it's all over.
Well, let's talk about your tour. When are you leaving?
We're leaving tomorrow.
And where are you going?
Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. Brazil.
Now, your fans will have read all about this, James. Aren't you concerned about that?
No, Akasha. I'm concerned because there's nothing wrong.
He's high as a kite.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I'm gonna say I feel good. I always got a brand new bag. It's a man's world.
Well, that's the second time in 2 days. That's very interesting. Now, don't leave us, James. You stay right there. We have to talk about. Well, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing on the tour.
Say.
What are you going to be doing on this tour?
I'm gonna be doing Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, Living in America, Sex Machine, Get Up Off of That Thing, I Feel Good. Damn.
Now, I understand that you have already... James, I have to ask you one serious question here. I understand you already have started divorce proceedings. Does that mean that you're now eligible?
No. Yes, I'm saying.
What?
I want to mingle.
You want to mingle.
Yeah.
Now, the women love you when you get out there. Why do you think that is?
What'd you say?
The women love you when you get out there.
Why is that, ladies?
Well, I'm asking you.
Huh? Because
Why
I
do you
look
think
good.
that is? You
I
look
smell
good.
good. I
Yes.
feel good.
And you sing good.
And make love good.
Oh.
Confident man.
We don't have to ask anybody else. We got that from the source. Now, you're involved in publishing a gospel magazine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Second Coming. It's out of Augusta, Georgia, as anchor. Joseph P. Young is the editor. And James Brown is one of the advisors. And we're doing a fantastic job. The Second Coming. It features on this week. I think we have the Pope and I believe the Williams brothers. And next week we'll have Reverend Al Sharpton, I think, on the cover. And we'll be doing a lot of good things, and hopefully we'll get Brother Ted Turner on the cover. Ted, where you at?
James, we want to thank you for being with us today
Wait
and
a
giving
minute,
us
I
an
just got
opportunity.
here.
Oh, is there something more you want to say that we
Yeah,
haven't
I want to
covered?
say another thing.
Okay,
I
go
love
ahead.
you. I love America. I love everybody.
Well,
I feel good.
It sounds to me as though you're not troubled by any of this at all.
This is a man's world.
Thanks for reminding us of that. Every once in a while, we forget.
Get up
So
on
we've
it.
remembered again. James, good luck on your tour. Thanks for being with us. I guess we're going to hear lots more.
Hasta luego.
Wow. I don't remember that happening. Yeah, I mean, he was obviously medicated, it seemed to me.
Yeah. I thought he was high as a kite. He should not have taken that interview under any circumstance.
Who advised him to do that?
I don't think any. I think he didn't care who what the advisor said.
Wow.
I hope they got a good commission. I hope they were on retainer
Wow. Because
because no one cared. He did not care what anyone thought about it on any level. Yeah.
in stark contrast to what we've been talking about most of the time, I wonder what some of those older musicians would say. I think Andre needs some advice from Bootsy on what path to take, or maybe he just needs to go on Martin Scorsese's cooking channel.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Saby, anything you'd like to plug?
Yes, feedbackdef.substack.com, and also my YouTube channel at feedbackdef. I'm working on an essay right now about how genres that are considered underground and like threatening to the mainstream always end up sort of being absorbed into mainstream, to the point where we don't even bat an eyelash at them. And I touch on quickly this idea, like it's not the main point, but this idea that the CIA was behind the LSD distribution that got into, groups like the Grateful Dead. That was like a big deal in the hippie movement, obviously the Grateful Dead and Crosby, Stills and Nash and groups, that whole thing. And just the idea that, the entire hippie aesthetic might have actually been sparked by like the CIA is such a weird thing to me. It's not the main point, but I get into that. So that
Very
should
cool.
post later today.
Very cool. And for me, I have always got a bunch of things, and one that we'll discuss a little bit after we step off because it's something I wanted to share with you that could be some big news. But I have the media of it all. It is a newsletter, a column that I am writing both on LinkedIn and Substack. Doing better on LinkedIn than Substack, which is interesting. I'm reaching my 200th subscriber. 2,000, I hope. 2,000 subscriber in just 2 weeks live on Substack, which is great. Not on Substack, but on LinkedIn.
That's awesome.
And this last one, which I published on Thursday mornings, was about Lester Holt leaving NBC Nightly News and the fact that no one cares. This guy is in front of 7 million people daily, and no one cares that he's leaving. And so I believe it's a sign of audience collapse.
Okay, you're saying no one in the public, not no one, the executives or in the industry.
The executives care, sure.
Okay.
But it's not there was a point where I remember when Dan Rather left. I remember when Peter Jennings had to step down. Peter Jennings was sick. I remember when Charles Gibson stepped in for Peter Jennings, and when Tom Brokaw turned the baton to Brian Williams. This is all in the 2000s. These were big national deals, like where it was they made all kinds of headlines, and there was a big focus on it. Not so much now. When Katie Couric got the CBS job, it was a big deal. In the 90s, going back to the 80s, pre Dan Rather and Brokaw and Jennings, that triumvirate, like just there was this sort of focus on these now archaic enterprises. An archaic enterprise that's still consumed by 7 million people a night. And that's just one of them. I think altogether it's around 25 to 30 million total. It depends on the night, obviously. So I wrote about that last week, and I got another one coming up. I think I think it's going to be about NPR and PBS, and my take on where they should go.
I'm really, really, really excited to hear your take on that.
Yeah.
So don't tell me before you post the thing. Oh,
Sure.
Tell me when you post the thing. I don't want you to.
Sure.
I want to experience your piece on it.
Sure. And on Substack, I am also still doing my short radio pieces. Hopefully more news on that soon.
All right, rock on. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, peace, everybody. And for those of you who stuck with us, thanks a lot. Bye.